Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Jesleen, and on behalf of the entire team of Floxus, I would like to give you all a very warm welcome to the second live session of Women in Tech series with Miss Anusha Devarajan. I am very pleased and elated to welcome her to this fireside chat. Just as it is rightly said that challenges are the key to success and failures are the milestones to face all hurdles. And indeed, our guest speaker for the day has faced a lot in her life to attain the position where she is today. Every journey begins with a small step and concludes with a great laurel. Floxus celebrates such milestones by phenomenal women, and thus we are happy to have Miss Anusha with us here today. Anusha is an operations manager at Facebook with over 10 years of experience in leading core business support and operations for critical functions across tech giants like Amazon, Uber, Google Maps, and Deloitte. Anusha is authentic and empathetic as a leader and wears many hats on a day to day basis. She excels at problem solving, is innovative and strategic when faced with challenges, and does not lose sight of the big picture. She is also passionate about painting, journalism, and hiking. Welcome, Anusha. Floxus is pleased to have you here. So, before going into anything further, let's have a general introduction about you right from yourself.
Thank you, Jasleen, for the lovely introduction. I'm really excited to be here. I'd like to say I'm a very simple, cheerful, no nonsense kind of a woman from India, and I'd like to say I don't ever forget my roots. The one thing I love about myself is how fearless I am, no matter what life throws at me. Believe me when I say this, I was probably the most rowdiest person in my family. I probably still am. I belong to a huge joint family, and I was the only girl child at the time. I do have two young sisters who are in school. I played cricket on the streets with all my male cousins, and I remember how I fought for my chance to bat almost all my childhood. So yes, I'm fearless and always had the attitude of I can do anything. Like you said, what you'll find me doing outside of work is painting. I always had this passion of painting right from my childhood, and I love spending time in nature. And I usually tend to go to offbeat places, especially the ones that are less traveled. And I enjoy playing badminton. Recently picked up hiking and reading books. My pet peeves. Do you know how you when you buy a new T-shirt and you're all ready to like wear it, or even a top for that matter, and then you find the small booklet of tags on the side. I don't know why they put that in there. I feel like it tickles me as like it's the worst thing ever, and I just hate that. Jokes aside, I think my biggest pet peeve is when someone does not do their research or groundwork before reaching out for guidance. I have huge respect for people who spend time researching and reaching out with straightforward questions. That's a really smart thing to do, and you should do that. Otherwise, I'm an extremist. I will either enjoy the small things in life. I love sunsets, for example, and or I can be as extreme as going for a skydive, and I can be very unpredictable like that. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm Anusha, and I'm an operations manager at Facebook in Ireland.
Thank you so much, Anusha. This introduction indeed tells us that you are a lady with a vivid personality, pursuing different fields and different interests. So I suppose that will make our fireside chat for the day even more interesting. Okay, so as most of our audience for the day, I guess, would be college students who have a lot of questions from you, who want to hear about your journey, about your hurdles, challenges, milestones, and achievements. So before we move on to anything further, so Anusha, can you tell us anything about how your college life was? Like, what did you have to face there as a woman, as a girl, or as a student who wanted to make a mark for herself in this big world?
Uh, I'll be honest with you, Justine. I always wanted to pursue aeronautical engineering, and I remember back in the day, I think everyone around me was just pursuing engineering. Every neighbor, every friend, every family friend, I think, was pursuing engineering, and I had this craze to pursue aeronautics. But I ended up pursuing bachelor's in science and computers, and my major was in statistics. And I come from a women-only college, and I really had a wonderful experience all my college life. I have to mention this, that being in a women's college, what I learned at least is I was surrounded by very beautiful, smart, talented women, and they admired me for my confidence, and they always used to appreciate me. But I admired them for their intelligence, and they did not know that did not know a lot about my statistics or college subjects. So um, yeah, I mean, I miss those days. It definitely was a beautiful journey, those 3 years of my graduation.
Okay. So, Anusha, as you just told us that you are from a woman-only college. So, usual notion in our society regarding a woman-only college is that she will not gain the required confidence of how to deal with boys when she goes into her further prospects. Like जब job करने जाएगी तो उसको समझ ही नहीं आएगा कि किसी लड़के से कैसे बात करनी है. So, were you also faced with those remarks in your usual days?
Not really. I think that's really absurd to even say that or think that. I feel like if you have studied, first of all, I come from a co-ed school where I did mingle with boys, and of course, it does give you a little bit of discomfort to engage with men if you haven't ever spoken to boys outside your family. So I did not personally experience it because my schooling was from a co-ed school and I did have a lot of interaction. And as you experience, I think as you start working, you will automatically learn. I think naturally adjust to your circumstances, and you should be able to interact with them no matter what, because you know what you are doing, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Okay. So, how was your participation in the co-curricular activities of your college? Like seeing the fact that you were a very confident girl in your college days. So, I feel you must be the first one to go in for all sorts of activities which interested and suited you.
That's absolutely right. I found myself doing a lot of these. A lot of presentations, and I remember how I designed a logo for an event regarding climate change and its effects. I did participate in a lot of activities because, like I said, I wouldn't like attending classes. So you would find me standing in line first to do all of these things. So it really helped me gain a lot more confidence. This is how you learn smartly, right? It's not always about just reading books and mugging up and attending exams. You've got to be street smart if you want to make a difference, and that will happen if you push yourself to participate in events like these.
I think this statement of yours will suit the views of almost all the college students because we all feel like extracurriculars are better as compared to classroom teachings and studies.
I am with you
Okay.
guys.
Yeah. Uh, okay, so were there any sort of restrictions on you, like while you were in your college or you wanted to pursue any kind of co-curricular activity? Although it was an all-girls college, so I think some of those restrictions, like which are for girls in a co-ed college, would have been lifted. But from the side of your family, was there any stoppage that you should not go out late at night and stay indoors after evening or anything of that sort you want to share?
Yes, I think you can gather something from my smile. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I come from a very orthodox South Indian family that's adapting to modern culture, and initially there was a lot of backlash about not marrying on time, working night shifts, for not targeting a government job. You know how our Indian
I
parents love a government
understand.
job.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I feel like my biggest pillars of support at the time were my father and my uncle. They knew what I'm capable of, and I feel like they saw themselves in me. They gave me the freedom to pursue what I wanted to, but only to give me a deeper understanding of what is it that I'm going for, and um, uh, why do I want to pursue something? And as an example, I think night shift, something that most people would relate to from India, because all companies are from the US or Europe. So no one in the family ever did that before. I was the only girl child, and obviously there will be concerns about safety, or will there be women along with you in that shift? How would you get back home? Would you be safe? And will I be comfortable, and so on? So I think a lot of these questions gave me an understanding that it's not easy, and it's something that I should consider. Um, Although they were reluctant in the beginning, I did persuade them of why this is important to me, and that I wanted to be independent, and I'm not gonna take a step back because of a shift. And I think they were partly okay and not okay, but I still went on with it because that's how I am. And I remember how when I was in college, my father would ask me not to come home after 6. Like if it's 6 p.m., I'm supposed to be at home. But working night shifts over a period of time, I think the journey itself was a really it had a lot of ups and downs, and I think I earned their trust along the way. Don't screw it up, guys. That's the only chance you have. And I think come back with the accolades that you get at work. I think a lot of people don't share what happens at work with their parents, and I think I used to do that quite a lot, and that sort of helped them understand that this is the government job is not the end of everything. You can still do a lot of things in the corporate world, working in the night shift, and still be safe. So yeah, I did have quite a bit of restrictions, but managed to navigate through all of them.
Yeah, but all of this would have been really tough, because I can understand this. Like when somebody puts a restriction on you, like continuing to work in the similar manner with that thing imposed on you is really tough. So I must commend you for that, that it was indeed a brave decision that you decided to stick to your own choice and you decided to continue as you had thought. Because in our country there are several girls, like once their parents stop them from doing something, if it's related to their career, so they have a change of their line ki okay, ghar wale nahi support kar rahe, so I'll go in for something, I'll succumb, I'll be submissive. So that's indeed something which I salute from the behalf of entire team of Floxus. That's indeed a commendable task which you have done.
Thank you.
Yes.
I really, I really want everyone to fight for what they really want to do, and try to explain the rationale behind why they want to pursue what they want to.
Yeah, that's indeed a very good message. It's a message for all the girls. It's a message for all the students who are presently in school or in college, that pursuing your dreams is very important. Although family support and family love is always primary, but yes, we need to create a balance between the two anyhow. That's the only choice which we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Anusha, now as we are talking about all your college life and everything, so like as we, like go in advanced college stages, so the first thing which comes in our mind is related to internships. So, what was your stand regarding internships? Like, how did you start preparing for them? How did you make your choices and all? So, anything you want to share regarding them?
Yeah, so I come from a first generation background, right? I think it's one of the very few people who just started working in corporate, and internships were never a thing back in the day. We didn't even have campus placements until my batch of students during graduation. So no internet, no campus placements, no internships, and it wasn't the same like it is today. And I think we've come a far way from all of this. So my batch was the first batch of students to attend placements with our seniors, and to be honest, I think if I look back and look at where we are now, I think internships are really a really good opportunity for us to test the market, and understand what line of business actually interests you. If I had the option, I would even start hunting for internships right from my second year of graduation. And I would even try multiple internships, not just sticking to one line of business, but actually experimenting in different lines. Because I remember when I was in college, everybody was telling me, "Oh, you are joining customer support. Is that even a good thing? This world runs on customer support. There is no way you should have that stigmatic approach towards customer support." And if I had the option, I would have even explored, like, I wanted to get into the field of animation and graphics. So I was a little confused, but what matters at the end of the day, and people around you, what they know is what you will end up pursuing. Like I said, no internet. So I think that's the benefit or the advantage we have today. You can do your research, and if you narrow down your options to one or two things or one or two lines of business, uh, go for the internship. Be fearless about switching domains. It's fine, and at the initial stages of your career, I think that's the biggest advantage you have. So yeah, that's the word of advice I would give myself if I had the opportunity to do internships.
Yeah, but as you spoke about skipping options and like exploring different fields, so usually when we are in college, we find our interest in several things. Like somebody who's there in a core branch will have his or her interest related to coding, also web development. So they become different fields if we speak about specialization. So, what would you suggest as far as choice in the final year of college is concerned? Like, because suppose if I am interested in web development as well as going for a core computer science or IT job, so what should be my choice? Whether it should be my passion or whether it should be the need of the hour? What is the right thing to be done?
That's a very difficult one to answer, and I don't think one size fits all here, right? I can't really say something that works for everyone. It's about what are the things you can actually compromise on, and what are the sacrifices you're willing to make. If I would literally jot down the pros and cons of taking either approach. If I'm going to go for a proper tech background, coding and web development, like you said, I'm going to list down everything that matters to me. It's about the pay, it's about the job satisfaction, the company, the growth aspect, and what is it that I'm going to learn. What are the competencies I will capitalize on, and also the happiness quotient. Will I be happy working in a 9 to 5 job at a desk, or and on the other side, if you're following your passion, you don't have the 9 to 5 job. And I have a lot of friends who are into web designing, um, who don't follow the usual process of coding. They still are satisfied, very happy in their life, pursuing what they really are passionate about. So you can find the right balance. It's about how much you're willing to let go and sacrifice along the way.
I think this is where most of us falter, choosing between happiness and the need of the hour. So I think this is indeed a very good suggestion that you have to be very careful while choosing this thing.
Yeah, I just want to add something here. I don't think it has to be the extreme of it, right? You can't, it's not like I'm not going to be happy doing what I'm doing today. I never saw myself doing a desk job for 10 years. If you would have asked me this 5 years ago, I'd be like, no way, I'm not going to do it for another 5 years. And I still say it today, I'm not going to do this for another 5 years. So I think it's just about the learnings and the experiences that you make use of along the way. And I have been happy along this way. I am passionate about the work I do, so I think it's about finding the right balance.
Exactly. And what would you suggest is the right time to start hunting for these internships and preparing for the same? Like in college, when should we begin? As college students, what's the correct approach?
I'm going to ask you a question for that. When
Yeah.
do you have the opportunity to start internships in your college? Because
Uh, I am presently going to enter my third year, and I have completed one internship at an industry related company. Although the protocol suggests that we go in for internships after our third year, like we do one internship when we complete third year, and then from fourth year, we begin our placement preparations. So I think it's like you complete second year, and if you get the chance, you can always do it.
that's it, you have the answer. So I think you should
Yeah.
as soon as possible if I have the opportunity, because I would love to explore the domains that I'm probably finding it difficult to choose from. So I would try to crack an internship across all of those domains, try to get the experience and understanding of, is this what I really want? Is this what makes me happy? And do I see myself in this domain for the rest of my life or even the next 5 years? So I think if you're able to constantly ask those questions along the way and uh, utilize the window of opportunity as soon as it opens. That's it. You should be, that's the right time. There's never a right time for anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that suits your needs, and of course, at the end of the day, makes you happy if I'm right about it.
Yeah, you got.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. I'll always remember this. So, Anusha, what was the scene of like placements in your college? Although you've already spoken about it, that the opportunities were not very wide at that time, but still, how did you like? What were your opinions and what were your emotions at the time when your placement period was nearing? Like, as a person, how skeptical were you at that point? Ki ab kya hoga? That situation.
Yeah, this is where it all began. This is where my life took a turn. So I'm very happy to share about this. So placements were happening for the first time, like I said, in my college, and we just had a new placement officer. And Deloitte was the first company that had come in, and they were looking for tax background or commerce background students. And I was in my second year. You remember how I said I knew nothing in college and everyone around me knew a lot of things? So I followed them. They knew that we could attend placements from our second year. And if we were in our second year, we were able to attend, but we wouldn't really get the offer as such. It's for the sake of experience. So um, the most common mistake I think we all made at the time was to prepare for everything possible. And I said, like, no internet. We had brochures handed over to read up about Deloitte. And I was literally mugging up, like, I'm trying to like remember what am I going to say in the interview about this company. I have no idea. And this is the first time I'm hearing, and I'm not even a commerce student. So I'm sitting there panicking. There was so much anxiousness in the room, and everyone around me were also creating that sort of tension. So I think the key here is to not overwhelm yourself. And I remember at the start of the process, they announced that they would gauge us purely on our communication skills, and they would start with our introduction. That's my biggest learning, and that actually helped me a lot. I'll tell you why. So I was sitting somewhere in the middle of the room, and the interview, they started asking everyone to introduce themselves one by one, and I was listening to everyone's introduction, and I was just picking words from each one of them, and I realized that I have been reading and doing everything wrong. I was reading up about the company. The point is to introduce myself. So I quickly grabbed a paper, and before it was my turn, I had a kick-ass introduction about myself, and I tried to focus on my personality because I'm a student. I don't have experience, so it's about what I can bring to the table, right? So that's it. That's the key. Have your introductions really strong. Utilize that time to actually showcase your strengths, and don't overwhelm yourself by reading about everything that you should about the company. You will get to that stage. I think in the next few rounds, they will ask you about the company, about the role. But I think the only thing that can get your foot into the door is your introduction, and you have to nail it. So that would be something that I would remember for the rest of my life. I think that changed how I look at campus placements. And
I,
sorry, fun
yeah.
fact: Deloitte was the first company to come in, right? And there were many other companies, but I remember how I was the only person to get hired at Deloitte,
Oh.
and in the entire college, including my seniors. And I remember how I was stoked that, is this even real? Is this true? But yeah, that was my campus placement experience.
Yeah, I must say, although it's a very late congratulations, but still a very celebratory congratulations from my side, because I believe it will become a very panicky situation that you are sitting for your interview and then you realize that all your preparation was wrong for the entire time. and then modifying it at the last moment and still making it successfully, it's indeed a very big task. So, like, it's something which you actually nailed it.
I agree, and I really think even till date, until like I think last week as well, when I was talking to my coach, I do have a coach, and she was that I was my mission with my coach was to make sure my introduction is the best. I think it keeps evolving in your career, right? It keeps changing, and you change as a person. So I think it's important you take a moment to pause and reflect on how you introduce yourself, and that's really important.
So, Anusha, according to you, a good introduction is the one which showcases your strengths and not just focuses on random points. Like, what, according to you, should be a very captivating introduction for someone who is going to appear for a placement interview? Like, what did you say about yourself during this period?
It was pretty simple. I think back in the day, it was more about my experience and experience as in college and my extracurricular activities. And I think what I try to showcase is that I'm a fast learner. I can learn anything. I can also unlearn. I'm very good at dropping things that don't matter. And the other thing I think is that I am open to criticism, right? I think these are small things that make a lot of difference at work. And the more people criticized me, that fueled me. So I used to thrive on things like that. So I think, and the most important thing is your confidence. So I recently heard my friend say this to me, and that touched me. There are some people who say the most wrong things ever. Everything they say probably is wrong, but they say it so confidently that the other person, starts to think, is this person right? Am I wrong? What's going on? I think confidence is key. So I think having all of this packaged up, your strengths and speaking about it in utter confidence should give you that edge.
Exactly. So that's indeed an advice for everybody because most of us will be entering that phase where we have to sit for campus placements, and it indeed becomes a very difficult task for some. Like some of us are of an introvert nature, so we really need these small words of small pieces of advice as to how to proceed with it. So thanks for it, Anusha. And Anusha, just a small thing again related to your placements, that how did you decide as to which company you had to apply? Like, was your field of interest always fixed, or were you like, I'll apply for this company also, maybe this, maybe that? So, how did you decide upon that?
That's a very good question. I think I often used to think the company is what that matters, and I'm sure a lot of us still think the same. But in my perspective, companies like Facebook, Amazon, or even Google, of course, they recognize candidates who appreciate the company and all that. But what hiring managers really look for is your passion for the role and what you can offer in that role, right? I personally attended every single company that had come for campus recruitment. I remember having offers from like 6 or 7 companies at the time. And I remember calling one of my cousins, and he was the only person, he was a topper at CBIT. And I remember calling him, asking him, listen, I think there are like this company, like Wipro, Infosys, Satyam Computers is Tech Mahindra back in the day.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these companies had come in, and I was like, I'm not sure if I should go for this one or that one. And he cracked a joke. He said, are you rejecting companies before they can reject you? And that stayed with me
Oh,
forever. So he said, what's to lose? Why don't you just attend everything? And what's the worst thing that can happen? So, that's what sparked that confidence in me, that probably I'm not the one who's supposed to reject companies. I should probably attend everything, and for the sake of experience. While while I say that, I also want to call out one thing here. It is that for us to focus on the role that you want to apply for. It's not just the company, and also don't put yourself through a process or a role that is not relevant to you. Imagine a company like Google opening a marketing executive role, and you are doing, computer science engineering, and you're doing coding. Would you attend it? I know Google can be tempting as a company to attend interviews for, but if you put yourself through that interview, you're focusing just on the good experience, but I think it also can affect you in terms of, oh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, I didn't interview well, and I get rejected, it demotivates me. So be smart about picking your battles, and attend interviews that actually add to your learnings.
Okay. So, indeed, at the end of the day, I can gauge from your conversation that the key role is to remain happy and do something which pleases you, because that's important. Because if we are not happy, we'll not be able to give 100% to the job, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think you should be willing to take that risk, right? I think a lot of people care about pays and promotions and bonuses, and I personally did. I was in the same place, so it's about both what makes you happy and also how much you are willing to take a risk regarding pay and promotions. Growth and promotions will come someday. Just be patient. Focus on the learnings.
Okay. And Anusha, you have some of the most renowned companies on your resume, like Uber is there, Deloitte is there, Google, and Facebook, of course, is the feather to your cap. So, in general, how's the work environment in these companies? Like, what sort of opportunities do you get here?
Fabulous question. I think work environment for me is people, right, and the culture. From my first job till now, I think about five companies. None of them have the same culture. Everybody has their own culture, and no company will ever check all the boxes for you. I think that's how I see it. So for me, the first thing that matters is, am I able to be my vulnerable and authentic self? That's what matters the most. I thrive when I'm myself, and I really look forward to that in each company. And I think along the way, I have been able to be myself in all these companies. Diversity and inclusion is also important to me, because it gives you an immense perspective into each person's cultural background and why they do or say the things they do in a certain way. You can learn a lot from that. Facebook, like you said, is the most diverse company I have ever been in my life, and I love that about Facebook. um, and I feel like I'm absolute, in an absolute state where I'm being myself, and I think that's what helps me succeed in whatever I do. So I think it's important for us to research about company values, talk to people from different companies and understand their company's culture. I can never compromise on company values or those things. I'll tell you, my favorite one from Amazon is have backbone, disagree, and commit. That's my favorite value, and I think I stood by it, and I still stand by it. Facebook's values of being open and be yourself, being open to change and anything that comes your way. And the last one from Uber, I think, was we value ideas over hierarchy. So I think these values have taught me a lot in my career, and you need to figure out what resonates most with you. Trust me, it matters.
Exactly. So, Anusha, now picking up your companies one by one, let's hear your journey through each of them. So, firstly, how was life at Deloitte and what did that role teach you, or anything specific regarding the company or any incident which took place there which you would like to share?
Um, Deloitte will always remain special to me. It was my first job, and like I said, I was the only person selected for this company, and I was thrilled to bits, and was looking forward to going to work every single day. Um, until things fell apart. Of course, I think that was my first experience. I was on bench for the initial few months. I hope you know what bench is. Like, you don't really work on any project. So I was working on proxy systems. Felt like I was wasting my time. What's going on? This is not what I expected, right? The moment I was allocated to a project, and just to give you a little bit of context on what process I was in, Deloitte managed insurance transactions between hospitals and insurance companies. Um, I was very excited until I knew it involved calling. We all know how we feel about a calling process. It's a nightmare. I realized my motivation hit rock bottom because of the stigma associated with a calling process. And I remember my manager at the time, Kevin, he had asked me, why do you not like calling? What's the problem? You always wanted to be a part of projects, so what's stopping you now? So I think he tried to explain why it's important to use the information you already have and avoid calling. You can still do that. It's possible. Do you want to try it? And he challenged me to it, and I beat him to it. I actually solved as many cases without calling. So I think what I'm trying to say is the role taught me how others' perspectives and learnings can have an impact on you in a negative way as well. And unless you try to fix it and you try to work around it, there's always it will always seem impossible. I think challenges don't always have to come from your managers. You can challenge yourself. There's always a million ways to enjoy monotonous work, at least in the initial stages of your career.
Yeah, exactly. So that's indeed a very valid point, and it must have resonated with several people who are either in their workplaces or planning to take up a good job. So, after this, and you have also accomplished some very chief roles at Google. And what were your struggles therein and the work environment at Google? Because Google is a renowned name and one of the leading tech giant companies today. So, how was your task there?
So I was working for Google Maps through an outsourced company. I was not on the direct payroll. And outsourcing was a fresh concept back then. So if I can tell you one thing about myself, I don't like being in a place where I'm not challenged. I cannot settle for less. So I kept grabbing every opportunity that came my way. So I started as an analyst. I moved to a quality role, and then I moved to a trainer role. And in fact, before moving to training, I sort of juggled between quality and training. So it was a very fruitful and learning experience, and everything happened so fast. It was in a span of 2 years, I moved roles 4 times. So I was that ambitious. I just could not settle for anything less. I just wanted to keep going fast. And it was probably the most exciting and fastest phase of my career. I learned so much. The roles here taught me how to be agile, how to multitask, and how to lead without authority. I was not in a leader role or a manager or a team lead role. I still was able to lead people in a certain way without authority. And most importantly, why subject matter expertise is crucial, and so much more. I learned a lot of things here. So it was a very, very good experience working for Google Maps. And yeah.
So indeed, working in Google is a dream for many. And I'm sure that out of the so many people watching us at this point of time, there will be many who have this aspiration to become a part of Google in their future. So any keynote of advice for them, like anything specific for these tech giant companies, like maybe it's Google, maybe it's Microsoft, Amazon, or anything?
Yeah, I think the way I see it is, just try to understand, dive into what are your strengths, right? I feel like a lot of people don't really know what their strengths are, and there are a lot of assessments on the internet today. One I'd like to quote is called a standout assessment. I personally do it once in every while. I think understand your strengths thoroughly, and know how to articulate this to the other person and what you can do in a certain role. Don't chase the company, chase the role, and see how you can excel. And I think those two would stand out as words of advice. And
Yes.
Justine, if it's okay, I really want to add something here. This has nothing to do with any company or Google, or I just want to call
Yeah.
out an experience around this time of my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure, sure.
so, what I'm going to say now might not be okay with a lot of people, and I'm going to be honest. I was sexually harassed by a very senior person in a company, and I was fragile as a young girl who was just getting a hold of her life, and whatever happened with me was pretty devastating. It broke me. It broke my confidence. I felt like I'm suddenly now under a microscope, questioning myself. Did I do anything wrong? Do all of the men in the office look at me this way? Is it the way I dress? Is it the way I talk? And so many things. I felt like I started to question everything. So I want to be honest here. The only people that pulled me out of this space was my father and a couple of really close friends. I'm really, really thankful for that. And my father was the one who inspired me to escalate this to the HR. And he told me why this is not appropriate and how it's not okay to stay silent. And I know a lot of women go through this in workplace, and I really encourage you and call out to you not to tolerate such behavior. um, the investigation went on for over 3 months, and it was the worst thing ever. Like, it's probably the worst thing that can ever happen to anyone. People looked at me differently. People who used to talk to me stopped talking to me, and so much more. I remember how a senior manager, a woman, she pulled me into the room and she said, "You're disgusting. What are you doing to this man? What are you doing to this his family, his children? Am I the one who's supposed to be thinking about his family and children, or him?" So I think, and also, like, when I escalated this to the HR was like, "Is this really the person who harassed you? Are you sure?" Like, I think that sort of stigma around such behavior existed at the time. And long story short, I think the person was then found guilty. He admitted to his guilt. He was dismissed immediately, and that's what matters. So I really want to call this out to each and every one of you, men and women, or everyone out there. There is no reason why you should question yourself for being yourself. You are beautiful, you are strong, you are amazing the way you are, and I think you should stand up for yourself. And if you don't, no one else will. Um, it will seem impossible. The odds will be stacked against you, but trust me, you've got this. And when you get to the other side of all this madness, you will be proud of yourself.
Anusha, I'll be honest with you. I really have goosebumps at this time after hearing about this incident. Like, this is something which many girls, many women are facing on a day to day basis in our country as well as in abroad. But not many of these cases are brought to light. Some are like कि family ने बोला रहने दो. Some feel कि बस अब बोलेंगे तो हमारी ही बदनामी होगी in the society. This is the usual Hindi notion which we have. So I think that's wrong and it should be brought to light because we as girls, as women, should fight for our rights as far as possible. And I have all my support towards you that you were indeed courageous at that time to have faced all this. And still, you have made so much of milestone for yourself. Like, hats off to you. Really, hats off to you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Yeah, I am proud of myself, and I think I've come a far way. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I can understand. It will not be easy. It will be a terrifying situation for any girl or any woman who is under this scene. So, like, it's really a commendable task. So, okay,
Thank
so
you.
moving on with your professional accomplishments. So, anything which you want to share about Amazon and Uber as the specific regarding your roles therein or any specific incident? What did you get to learn?
I was at Amazon for about a year and a half. It was a very short journey, and my team was responsible for setting up processes for Amazon Fresh at the time. It was a very new product. Amazon was just launching Fresh, and we were taking care of last mile deliveries. And it had initially launched in the UK, and we were expanding into the US. And now working for the US region, I think most Indians would understand it meant night shifts. So my parents were absolutely against it, and I like I said, I still went ahead because I was rotating between US and UK shifts. It was just an excuse, but I needed the job. I needed to go ahead and do what I like doing, so I went on. Over that 1 year, my health took a horrible turn. I felt absolutely sick. I lost my appetite. I was insomniac. I started gaining excessive weight. My face, I started having acne pop out on my skin. I had the most beautiful skin ever, and I was devastated. I was exhausted mentally, and I couldn't pull myself through that anymore. And I realized that it's not good for me. So it was an interesting phase. I have no complaints about my job, the role, or the company itself. But when all these things happened, I was questioning my career choices, and if this is how it's going to be, can I keep doing this? When will I start growing in my career, and so on. So I think a lot of these things had come in to perspective. I always knew I wanted to be a manager, but I didn't know how. So I don't know if you know about this, but a lot of these students from engineering background started flying out to the US to pursue masters. There was this phase when every other neighbor or any friend would just keep going abroad to pursue masters. So I was definitely catching on to that. And I wanted to pursue my masters, and I had applied for uh, a course in leadership and business strategy. And I researched quite a bit, and because of my passion for art, I had applied for only one university, and that was the University of Berkeley in California. It was, I think, the top sixth university in the world at the time. And I got my admit, I got my visa, and I was so overconfident that I'm going out. I quit my job. Probably the most irresponsible and probably the most biggest mistake I've ever made in my career. I don't really like what I did at that time. So I didn't get a loan and I couldn't go, and that was a really harsh reality check for me. So I think I was desperate, vulnerable, and felt like I'm not in the driving seat of my life anymore. Now I have to start from the scratch, apply for a new job, and I was not in the right state of mind. So I think by now you understand that the I think everybody faces this sort of confusion at some point in their
Exactly.
career, and they make wrong moves, and it's absolutely okay. I'm still here, and I think it's fine to quit jobs, but be sure of your plan B. That's it. Without a plan B, don't make these silly mistakes. So I did ask a friend to refer me at Uber, and I ended up landing a job at Uber. So that's how my journey at Amazon was.
I feel that such types of incidents are indeed necessary to give you a taste of life, that it cannot be smooth at all times.
Yes.
And for some, it turns out to be a source of courage, while some may even break out. So I'm happy that you kept that courage with yourself and you proceeded to make a good mark for yourself in your career. So I'm happy for that.
Thank you.
And finally, so Anusha, for you, how did Facebook happen? Like, I'll not beat about the bush anymore, come straight to the point, because Facebook has always, I guess, been your charm. So, how did it happen?
So I was actually working at Uber at the time, and I was in a very happy place. I was doing really well in my role, and I wasn't really seeking opportunities at the time. But Facebook, there was a recruiter from Facebook who actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, saying they want to set up an exploratory call with me for a leadership role. And when I told my dad, I remember he cracked a joke. He said, "Are you sure? Is it not a spam message?" So I think that's it. Like, I was stoked when I got that message, and I did interview for the role, and that's when my dream came true. So I was hired as an ops manager at Facebook. So The lesson is update your LinkedIn profile, guys. It actually works. I had no idea. So there's a good chance you will get that message someday.
Exactly. And Anusha, in a very general way, how's the general work environment at Facebook? Because it's a brand name. So, do you have to face something unknown or anything of that sort, which is not expected from a company like Facebook? Or in general, how is the working condition there?
So the work environment at Facebook is absolutely diverse. Like I said, I have not seen a diverse company as Facebook. There is no at least a second or third person from the same country that I belong to. So, um, it's incredibly difficult to sort of adapt. And also, I relocated and I had no friends here. So it was not at all the best experience for me on that front. And I had no idea what to expect. So um, as I started talking to people at Facebook, and what I understood is that I had to drop everything I knew back from India, like everything I learned, whatever I did, I had to drop a lot of these things, and I was very rigid when it came to that. I was not willing to open up and engage with people from different cultural backgrounds. I was too shy, and I'm an ambivert. I can be very extroverted or I can absolutely shut myself down. So I chose the shutting myself down option at the time. So people are amazing, work is amazing. I have a very supportive team of people around me, and it has been a very good experience so far at the company. But I think the change had to come from me, of being agile and adapting to the change itself.
So I feel that your switching over these jobs taught you one thing, that life is a constant name for another change. You have to face changes almost every instant, and it's up to you how you tackle those changes and still emerge victorious.
Yeah, that's right. And I think while I was changing companies and roles, what matters, I think I really want to call this out, is that a lot of people these days chase promotions and growth. They want it immediately. Like the first year, I want to get a promotion or I want to get a great rating. I don't think it works that way. It, it's not going to work that way. And if you end up doing that, also, you're going to set yourself up for failure later. Fast growth means you're going to fall flat at the same speed. So I think it's important to take it slow, be patient with yourself, and go easy, and ask yourself if you've really learned everything in your current role and everything you have to extract from that company before moving on. So everything else will follow, promotions or
Exactly.
growth.
I feel this will give a good message to everyone who's presently in job or who's currently in search of one, that you have to be a bit skeptical and a bit synchronized with your work instead of just chasing it blindly.
That's right.
Okay, Anusha. So I think your professional outreach is wonderful and it indeed taught us all a lot of things. And so now a general question for you. I just wanted to know that we all look up to somebody as our mentor. Like it can be either our parents, a teacher, or somebody in the family, friends, or anybody. So according to you, who should be a perfect mentor? Like for you, who was your mentor and who was your major support system? Was it your parents or was it your friends or anyone who you want to share?
Yeah. No, definitely my family was my biggest support system. I still appreciate for all their criticism and comments about the things I do absolutely wrong. So they are and will always be my support system. Um, when it comes to mentoring, I feel like a lot of people, the moment you take the word mentor or coach, I feel like some people take it the wrong way or offended. Like, why am I being put on a coaching plan or a mentoring program? But no, that's not how it works. Mentoring and coaching is supposed to set you up for success. So I was that person. I'm like, what? I don't need coaching. So um, I think in my life, it was my manager at Uber, and his name is Varun, and he's a manager at Uber even now, and he's based out of Amsterdam. So he has been my mentor for over 5 or 6 years, and a true blessing in disguise, a role model. He's constantly pushed me and helped me truly identify what I'm really capable of. He tested my patience. He pushed me out of my comfort zone. I was so upset with him so many times, but I think he actually made me better each time, and there were so many such instances. I think he's one of the people who held me accountable for where do you see yourself in the next 5 years. When he first asked me, nope, no clue. I had no idea what am I going to do in the next 5 years. I was blank. But when we had a discussion, I told him I want to be a manager, and he asked me what manager, program manager, people manager, and there's so much more to it. What do you want to do? And then I told him I want to be a people manager, and I probably prefer working outside of India. And since then, I reverse engineered my every career move with his mentorship, and here I am, 5 years down the line, living the dream. So my advice would be for people to, first of all, find yourself a mentor, someone who calls you out for your mistakes, and someone who gives you actionable feedback, who does not shy away from speaking the truth. A mentor does not necessarily have to know everything about your life. They can still give you direction with the very little that they know about you, and be absolutely honest with your mentor about your struggles, and I think that's what will take you to places.
Indeed, that's true for life, and that's true for everybody who's living that. So, Anusha, now I would like to take up a few audience questions. Like during the registration time for your session, we had put up a post on LinkedIn as to whoever wants to question you regarding anything, whether it's career, whether it's study advice, personal advice, anything, they are free to do so. And we have got some responses for that. So, beginning with those LinkedIn questions, there was one question that during our college life, we always face the confusion regarding the choice of domain and career. So, how did you decide?
I honestly wish I knew better back in the day. Now I know things that could have helped me. So I think you might want to narrow down your choices based on your experience, your interest, and what you enjoy working on, um, what has a great potential in the market. And do not hesitate to reach out to people from all those domains and companies, right? Um, I know that these days people are using LinkedIn, but I encourage you to do it a lot more and talk to people and ask them questions that you would ask your friend, maybe, and be absolutely transparent about what is it that you want to know more about. So ask them about their experiences. Focus on both good and bad experiences, so it's not biased. Um, Write down the pros and cons and the advantages. I think I mentioned this earlier as well. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I would write down what can I compromise on and not, and see where you stand. I think that should help you narrow down at least what you don't want to pursue, and leaving you with what you want to pursue. So and you have your internships as well to experiment between domains.
Okay. So, a next question for you was that what's the perfect way to ask for referrals on LinkedIn?
I read this one. I think this is a fantastic question, and I'm very happy to answer this. I would say when you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, please, please, please do your research and groundwork about the role, the company, and be absolutely sure about meeting all the minimum requirements. When you reach out on LinkedIn, be clear on what is it that you want from this person. I see a lot of people just saying hi, hello, and that's it. What is it that you want from this person? I feel like they hold themselves back from asking questions. So I think jump straight to the point, ask questions. Also key is here to write down a brief about your profile, and why your profile is relevant to this role. Pick the roles from the career pages and send them over so they can refer you. So I think LinkedIn is a phenomenal platform for landing a job. I myself landed one at Facebook, and other tech companies do reach out. So be wise about how you use this platform. Um, to add what you probably shouldn't do not ask the person you're reaching out to review your resume and give feedback. And there will be so many people reaching out. Do you think the other person would be able to cater as much attention as they should to reviewing resumes? It's not practically feasible. So cut them some slack and do it yourself. Share your resume, asking them, and I think another funny story. I think a lot of people ask me to find relevant roles for them. No, I mean
Oh,
that's not how it goes. I think you are the best person to find roles relevant to your profile, and you should do it. I cannot do that for you, or nobody can do that for you. So, um, and I also noticed a lot of people reaching out to me asking the reason for rejection. um, why did I get rejected? Can you please appeal? I mean, that's not professional at all. Do not do that. I would advise you against it. And yeah, I think that should help you going
yeah,
forward.
I must say these points would have proved fruitful for many hearing us right now, because these days LinkedIn profile is much more active as compared to Facebook or Instagram profile. So I think this would have solved the doubts of many people as to how to have a good approach regarding one's LinkedIn profile. So thanks for it, Anusha. And the next question was you is quite an interesting one. So what are the important leadership skills and how to improve them?
Um, Personally, I think it's hard to put your finger on one or two skills, honestly. But if I have to say something, I think situational leadership is probably something I want to call out specifically. As a leader, you have to switch roles so many times in a day, depending on the person you're speaking to and the audience, of course. So I think for me personally, authenticity and empathy go hand in hand. You've I mean, you will be the best version of yourself if you're like, authentic and if you're empathetic with your team. Have a compelling vision for yourself. Develop yourself and also those around you. That's what makes you stand out as a leader.
So I think this question is quite good answered. And so the next question for you is skills needed to crack big company jobs. Of course, quite resonating with your profile.
Oh my God, I wish I had a handbook for this, but no, I think I did highlight this a little bit earlier. It's
Yeah.
not entirely about the company, guys. I think the focus should be on the role. Companies are huge. They have diverse teams, more than probably hundreds of teams, and I have no idea how many, honestly. I think the team and the role should help narrow your skills down. But I think what stands out across domains would be executive communication, ownership and commitment, critical thinking and problem solving. I think you should, when I say problem solving, I think coming with a mindset of being solution oriented, and don't just come with problems when you're talking to people, come with solutions. And I think decision making can also be crucial.
Yeah, I think that's very important in our day to day lives. So, I would like to move on to the next question. And there are some people asking you during the live session that what are the chances to get the job in an IT field for women nowadays? So, what are your opinions as to this case study question which somebody has put up?
I love the question. I think back in the day when I was in college, I know that the population or the ratio of women to men at corporate was not equal, and I think that's a struggle across companies even today, across the world. But what's changing, or what has changed over the last few years, is companies and CEOs have made it their mission to hire a diverse audience, and I think it's trying to have enough representation across genders, and that's a huge achievement. So I think have no doubt about it. I think people or hiring managers are looking for strong candidates despite the gender. So have no worries about it.
I think that would have solved the doubts of many people, especially girls who are still under this bias that maybe I do not fit in these companies as far as my male counterparts do. So, for all the girls hearing us, there's no need to worry because we are all in a very safe environment. And I'm sure that if we have the relevant skills, then we'll, of course, rock the show.
Yeah, I think uh, I want to add something here. I feel like
Yeah.
more than others trying to stop us, I feel like women are their own speed breakers. Don't do that to yourself. I think we are way strong, and I think we are set out to do a lot of great things. And we should not be stopping ourselves. We should stop getting in our own way.
Okay. And I'll take up the last audience question for you, and that is that is it possible to get a job in IT field despite having a gap in your career or any flaw therein? Is it possible to make a mark for yourself in the corporate world still after that?
Of course, why not? There are a lot of people who go on paternity leaves, maternity leaves, or they had to take care of their families for whatever reason. I think these things happen. We're all human at the end of the day. I think we end up taking breaks, and as long as the break is justified and you are able to keep up with the changes and adapt to new learnings, you're absolutely fine. So don't think of it that way. Yeah, just don't overcomplicate it. Try to be honest during your interviews as to why you took the break, and if you're authentic, I think that should get your foot into the door.
Yeah, Anusha, I must say that the questions coming up for you are not stopping. People are continuously giving in something or the other. So I think that I'll take a few more, not to disappoint our audience for the day. So somebody is asking us that how did you identify your strengths?
Well, that's a good question. I I honestly don't did not know what my strengths were, and I kept talking about, like, I think when I was in college, I knew my confidence was my strength, and how I communicate was my strength, and that's it. I kept using that wherever I went, in all my resumes and all the sessions that I had attended. So I feel like your strengths change over time, and you need to acknowledge that. You need to identify it yourself. So recently, I had again with my coach, I made use of this assessment called Standout Assessment. It's a phenomenal tool. You should use it. It gave me insight into so many of my strengths that I probably don't utilize or capitalize on, and some I might have already been doing it, but I did not know it. I did not put a word to it. So it was a very eye-opening experience for me to identify my strengths, and through these assessments. And there is another personality test that I think it's called the 16 personality test. So that also, it actually nails your personality type and how you thrive as a leader and what you can do better to succeed as a leader. So I think there are many such assessments. And also, I think, talk to your manager about these things. I would encourage you to do it if you're working, or to your mentor if you're a student. But yeah, I think that's how I identified my strengths over time.
Okay. So somebody is asking us as to why there are less jobs in the HR sector and what are the skills that are demanded nowadays in these sectors, human resources.
Honestly, I think I'm not best equipped to answer this question because my exposure to these teams is very limited. Um, what I would encourage you to do is get in touch with people who are in the HR world and have a conversation with them candidly on LinkedIn. And I'm sure there are many people who are more than willing to help you get answers to this question.
Okay. And there's another question for you, that what is it that you would look for in a person when you are hiring them?
That's a very interesting question. I think it depends on the role as well, but I am a person who, so I don't worry about career breaks. I don't worry about different backgrounds. For me, what matters is someone who's hardworking. I know that they can commit to what they sign up for. Someone who's smart, can get things done, and is someone who can challenge me. I think you will find a lot of people who would say yes to everything you ask or say, but there will be very few people who will challenge you and question everything you do. So I think that's key for me.
Okay. So, Anusha, now I'll take up the last question for today's fireside chat, because if we continue in this way, there will be so many things to discuss that I don't think we'll be able to stop. So, there's one question for you, and that is, how can we stay consistent and focused?
Uh, if I'm being honest, you can't. It's not practically feasible to be consistent and focused all your life. You obviously will have distractions, and I have had a lot of distractions. So I think um, I think it's just about accepting that it's okay to not be focused and consistent and make some mistakes here and there. Don't be hard on yourself. But the way I try to stay consistent or focused is I have a vision for myself for at least 5 years, or like I said, when my mentor asked me 5 years ago where I want to be, I had no idea, but now I know where I want to be. So I think asking yourself those questions of what is success for you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and are you on the path to that, are you doing all the things that you are supposed to get there, and hold yourself accountable to it, and hold people around you accountable for it. That's what gets you to be more focused. And like I said, feel free to make mistakes. No one's going to judge you and even if they do, you shouldn't care. So it's okay to have distractions.
True, true, very true after all. So now, Anusha, as we near the end of this fireside chat, I am really happy to have had an interaction with you, because I personally got to learn a lot of things. And I'm sure that the audience would have held similar views regarding the session. So I'm happy that you became a part of this Women in Tech series, which was initiated by Floxus. So before we end this chat, just a few more things from your side, that any tip or any advice, any suggestion which you would like to give to the college students hearing you today, or to maybe your colleagues who are a part of the session today, or anything of the sort.
Yes, I think whatever said and done, while I was reflecting on my journey the last 1 hour, I realized that it was an absolute fruitful, enriching experience the last 10 years. And I realized that the hardships and failures don't matter. What I remember and what matters are the learnings and the people's lives I've touched along the way. So I'm here today and I made it, and I'm in an absolute happy place in my career. And I think I really want to thank everyone who tried to pull me down, especially you guys. I think you, in fact, fueled me to go further. And I knew that there was only one way to go up once you hit rock bottom, and that's upward. And I really want to thank everyone who stood by me in these difficult times, and you know who you are. So I would wish for everyone to start thinking about what you're looking for in your careers, and where do you see yourself, what makes you thrive. So I would like to leave you all with questions that you should start thinking about. What is success for you, and what are your strengths? And are you playing to your strengths correctly? I wasn't. What are your areas of opportunity, and what are you doing about it now? And I think I said it enough number of times. Or where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, and what are you doing today to get there? So start thinking about it now, guys, especially if you're in the early stages of your career. feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn for any guidance. I'm more than happy to help you. I'm really honored to have been here. Thank you, Jasleen, Utkarsh, and Team Floxus. You guys are doing a phenomenal job by bringing all these powerful women together.
Yeah, so Anusha, before we say a very goodbye to you, I would just like to ask your opinion on this initiative which has been taken by Floxus. So, what do you feel that will this Women in Tech series enable us to go a long way? And what is your opinion for the same?
Definitely. I absolutely think it's very helpful because I personally had no such resources back in the day to figure out what I want to do, and just hearing people out. And I'm starting to do that now, just listening to people, TED Talks, and reading books and journals. Oh my God, it's a very, very enriching experience. You should do it more often. I feel like you guys are doing really well. And I see this benefiting a lot of women out there. Even if it's one person, it's worth doing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anusha. It was lovely interacting with you. And I'm sure that the audience also holds the same opinion. And I really wish that we have a much better connection in future. And I'm sure that now we'll all have this liberty to reach out to you anytime whenever we face a problem.
Definitely, definitely. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. Thank you, Jasleen, for all the kind words.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, with this, I would like to close this fireside chat for the day. And I would like to thank Anusha for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.